Hey everybody, this is Sam, otherwise known as Gishki Master, and I'm just wanting to do an update video to tell you what's going on and where I've been and what I've been doing. Basically, I've just been at school and doing schoolwork and also been working and spending time with family. All of that's been going well. I've been very happy with all of that. And I just wanted to get back into the swing of things and show you what I've been up to. I think I've made quite a few things now at this point, and I want to show what I think the current Gishki deck can do, really. What the main 2-card combos of the deck can do. So this is a experimental type of deck that I was working on initially that I think has improved somewhat, but it was just an experiment. It was just a concept. And really, like, the whole point of this was really to just show off what this card, Transonic Bird, can do. And I do think that this card has a really, really cool written effect. And it just says that once per opponent's turn, quick effect, you can send one ritual spell from your deck to the graveyard. That's the cost. And then this effect becomes that card's effect. So it's kind of like a Demise before Demise even existed. So there is a pretty interesting 2-card combo associated with this. And the main thing that we're doing with this is we're just setting up both a Herald of the Arclight as well as an Ashland U1000. So what we're doing here is we're using the Grimness to summon Abyss. That gets us Vision, and then we both have Vision and Shadow. And then we make Herald of Pure Light, adding back Vision so that we can make a Neremonis. And then the Neremonis is summoned on summon number 5, which means that this is a means to stop Nibiru. Now, in this case, we're going to drop a Mirror Mage of the Ice Barrier and not the Nimble Angler as you would usually do. And the reason for this is because the Mirror Mage of the Ice Barrier is a level 2 tuner, and we can use that to help us go for Herald of the Arclight. And Herald of the Arclight can help us synchro climb into other synchros, sorry. And so yeah, basically what we're doing here is we've just gotten to the Herald and we're going for the Abyss, and then we're using the Abyss to go for a Grimness, which is just an extra card. And then we're linking away the Herald and the Abyss to go for Ashland. Then we're using Herald to add Advanced Ritual Art, and then using Ashland U1000 to reveal Neremonis to add our Transonic Bird. And now we're going for the rest of our Sprite combo using the Ashland and Sprite Sprint as material for a Gigantic Sprite, using those to go for Sprite Blue, Sprite Jet, then eventually Carrot, using those for Melfi of the Forest. Not having quite enough room in this particular combo scenario for a Melfi of the Forest to stick there, but with an IP, a Melfi of the Forest, a Carrot, and a Transonic Bird, this is not a bad little setup. That's just a small demonstration of the kind of creativity that you can get using Ashland and Herald of the Arclight and all these cards, basically. Basically, this is a slightly different variation of that same idea, but using it to go for a level 6 Synchro instead. So that is pretty helped out by the fact that something like a Arciella here is a perfect level 6 synchro for this scenario. So this is the White Forest Runic combo. In this scenario, we're going for the same setup, basically. We're just gonna go for Grimness to go for Abyss, go for Vision, use Vision to go for Neremonis, and then we're using Herald of Pure Light to shuffle back our Vision, put our extra free card back, and then on summon 5, we got our Neremonis, and then that lets us go for an Abyss. And then Abyss lets us go for a Shadow, and as you can see, this is exactly the same. And this setup lets you go for, again, either a rank 4 or a rank 2, or like basically whatever. Like in this regard, it's gonna help you go for a level 6 synchro, because we're gonna use the instead of using Herald of the Arclight and Gishki Abyss to go for a synchro or to go for a link summon, we're gonna use Herald of the Arclight along with our Mirror Mage of the Ice Barrier in order to go for a level 6 synchro, and that is going to be our Arciella. So here we're going to shovel back our Aquamirror into the deck. Now Herald of the Arclight can activate as well as Arciella. Arciella can then send the Mirror Mage, the Freezing Chains, and then the Aquamirror can be added because of Herald of the Arclight. Then we can use this to go for an Azamina of the White Forest. Sorry, I'll just pause that briefly. And so basically the Azamina is being added off of our Arciella, then we get to summon that, and then we get to go for our Diabel of the White Forest, and then basically from there, that lets us add the Deception of the Sinful Deception of the Sinful Spoils, and then from there, the Deception can let us go for the Hollowed Azamina, and then Hollowed Azamina can let us go for Azamina Ilia Silva. So that just shows how you can basically achieve like a very small kind of white forest consistency engine. Coming up with all these different ideas was pretty interesting, and it was just really pushing me to figure out what more I could come up with. And eventually I landed on a, just like, I was just noticing that Vendread was just getting a couple of new pieces of support. I think it was this Ravenous Vendread card, which is to special summon, as well as Scar of the Vendread. And then it also worked with Delta of Invitation. So this was, I was just feeling like this was just another way of getting into more starters in a way, basically. Also, because Grimness can basically fetch any ritual monster because of Ashland U1000, being able to special summon Abyss and then add Vision, discarding that to go for our Neromanus, then you can use the fact that Ashland here to reveal a ritual monster, and then you can add a different ritual monster with a different type and attribute. So then this lets us go for any of our dark zombie ritual monsters, and even Miracle Raven. And in this case, we're going to use the same scenario of like Sonic Bird with kind of like the way we did things with Sonic Bird, and that we're going to use this to go for a Gishki Abyss at this point, and then that's going to add a Guskraken. And now with that Guskraken, it doesn't really matter like what we add there, but or did that matter? No, it didn't matter. So yeah, what this basically does is like, instead of adding advanced ritual art, you can add the Vendread ritual spell, and then by making it so that we can get this Vendread Slayer on the field, we can set up very easily a situation in which we can go for Ibli, Nightmare Corruptor Ibli, which is a powerful disruption that locks the opponent. And the reason why we can do that is because we can use this to go for a Dynamondo, and then we can clear any monster that they might be using to try to link away. And then when Vendread Slayer goes to the graveyard, we can add a ritual spell from deck to hand, and that means that we can add our Gishki Necromere, which is our main form of disruption for follow-up on the opponent's turn. So again, I do think that this is a pretty interesting little experiment. So eventually I started to take the Ashland U1000 tech and taking that into a different direction, and then I was using that to add Habakiri. I actually have a video on my channel already, and I can link that down below, that has the Mitsurugi type of combos basically, and it's very simple. You can use Grimness and Abyss to add Vision, and then you can use Grimness to go for a Link Summon of Almirage, and then you can use Almirage and Abyss to go for Ashland U1000, and then that lets you go for the Mitsurugi Habakiri, because Habakiri is a different type of attribute than the Neromanus. At around this time as well, I was starting to experiment with the Impantation engine. So the Impantation engine I found to be pretty interesting because of the fact that we have Ashland U1000, we can very consistently add Incantation Talismandra off of our Grimness basically, because we can use that to go for our Neromanus, and then as we know, we can use Ashland to add any other ritual monster that has a different type and attribute. And then instead of adding our Gishki Shadow, we're actually using this to add Gishki Gishki Guskraken, and then Guskraken here is gonna help us go for a number of hand rips. So and then the Incantation Candle is here because this actually needs to be, in this case, this is an extra discard for Incantation, oh my god, I'm losing it. The Incantation Chalice Slime, sorry. We can use this, so we can use this for a discard for Incantation Chalice Slime. And the way that we're gonna get to Chalice Slime is through exactly the same method that we've been doing through Ashland U1000. So we can use the Incantation here to summon a Candle from the deck, and we're just showing that we could dead draw a Candle, and that doesn't really matter too much. So here we're going to summon our first Guskraken. That's going to get rid of a card. Then we can use Inception in the graveyard to summon Talismandra. Talismandra can then add another ritual monster. We can add Guskraken. Guskraken can then rip another card from the opponent's hand. Now we can use the two Guskrakens to go for an M7. We can use the M7 to add our Gishki Shadow back, and now we get to continue our string. And we get to send a copy of Mirror Mage of the Ice Barrier off of our Sprite Sprint. We can use that to go for our special summon, and then we can do the same moves to go for a Herald of the Arclight. And in this case, the Herald of the Arclight is going to let us go for it's going to help us go for another ritual card that's going to let us get 1 extra hand rip. But the way that it's going to achieve that is through slightly different methods, basically. I just wanted to show off that this was like an option. This isn't actually something that I would include necessarily in the Mitsurugi Impantation deck, but it is something that I wanted to show off as sort of like a potentially pure way that you could play the deck. So this basically just lets you summon a tuner from the graveyard, so we can re-summon Mirror Mage of the Ice Barrier, and then that is going to let us now, and because Herald of the Arclight is triggering in the graveyard, it's going to let us re-add our Aquamirror back now. And because Aquamirror is here with our Ghostkraken, we contribute the Trisketa to go for our Ghostkraken here, and we can get 1 last discard or hand rip off of the opponent. Then we can use this to go for our Ibli, and then with Ibli and Gigantic Sprite, we can use those to go for an IP Masquerena. That the Ibli will then be resummoned to the opponent's side of the field. And as you can see, we have 2 ritual monsters through which we can go for a very clean Dynamondo. Sorry, I can't click that. But basically, you can link off the IP with the Ghostkraken to go for an amazing Dynamondo search. And then from there, you can put the, you can put the Chalice Line back into the deck. So that is just like, it's just like a clean, pure version of like the combo that you can do with Gishkis, just like on their own, basically. So yeah, as you can see, there is a number of ways that I was sort of looking at the different combos in my head, and then I was starting to apply it to a couple of the new pieces of support that we were getting, as well as the Demise card. Now the Demise End of the World Ruler, as it's been now called in the TCG essentially, is a card that we're not going to be getting for quite a while. So I don't know what, like, that. This is the thing though, is that this is an amazing card for Gishkis. I'm really excited about the possibilities of this card for Gishkis, because this is essentially the same sort of effect that you get off of Transonic Bird, but in a ritual monster that's in your hand, of course. And then you just reveal this card, and then you can just go for a very simple, go for a very simple ritual summon that you can't even like Dominus Impulse. Or Ash, basically. It's really cool. So I just wanted to try out this deck and kind of like try out some of the new support and stuff like that. There isn't like a very strict combo setup with this, because as far as I can tell so far, there isn't like there is no like clean way to make like as far as I know so far, is there's not a really great way of making like a level 7 synchro natively off of the Gishki engine. But by having like even just like one of these cards in your hand, they are great cards to like link away with. And then like the Thea Realize card I thought was also really cool. So this is just an example of an Elven Note style replay, basically. In this case, the Elven Notes work as fantastic link climbing or synchro material, basically. And here I'm just showing this off with a single Grimness and an extra card to shuffle back into the deck so that you can use Herald of Pure Light. In this case, we also see that the Demise is also helping us go for a Neremonis with just a single copy of Gishki Grimness, sending an extra copy of Aquamirror to the banish pile, letting us link all that off into a Sprite Sprint, and then letting us continue with an Elven Note setup with the Diana in hand. Now, this is actually all being done without any of the new support, and I'm actually pretty happy about some of the new support that's come out in the form of the new Power Patron cards and even like another Elven Note card, the Wind Monster. So I haven't actually incorporated any of that, but I did want to just, I was experimenting with it, and I kind of wanted to just show off what I've kind of got to, basically, in terms of like a deck list. Here you see that I've summoned Herald of the Arclight. That's letting me go for a Stardust Charge Warrior, and that lets me go for an extra draw. And then with that draw, I actually drew the Gishki Necromirror, so that was actually pretty lucky for me. Going for a Gishki Abyss here, and then finally we're gonna just end this off by having 2 Neromonises in our hand, because in this particular scenario I drew the Necromirror, so it makes sense that I would want to have both of those Neromonises bounce back to hand so that I could potentially use Necromirror. Now here, the trap card is going to activate, and that lets us summon the Elven Notes Diana, and then Diana can activate right away, and it can swap places with the other Fortuna that's in the center monster zone, and then we can get the hand rip going. And then from here, we still have the IP Masquerena, as well as 2 Neromanuses, and even the Fortuna itself, really, that can help us get to that point. So this is my Yummy Gishki deck, and I've experimented with this deck quite a bit, and I think that this is a pretty neat idea. It's sort of like kind of going back to the sprite ideology of letting Grimness basically go onto the field, and then if something gets stopped, if it gets stopped like via an Ash or an Imperm or something like that, then you can easily just link this Gishki Grimness into an Almirage, and then you can use the Almirage as as a means to summon any of your level 1 Yummies. So it's actually a little bit later now. I actually noticed that my Yummy combo didn't really work because I was ending on Gravity Controller, which you can't actually use that to quick synchro on the opponent's turn because I'm silly and I forgot. So I made it so that this combo actually ends on the Yummy Snatchy as well. So basically this is still the very same combo, and eventually we're going to get ourselves into a Miracle Raven off of Ashland U1000. And then the way that we're going to be able to summon that is going to be through the ability of us to summon a Gishki Abyss again. Then we can add a Gishki Shadow, and then we can use this as tribute fodder. And then this is going to let us get into our Miracle Raven, because now we're going to be able to tribute the Gishki Abyss. And then that puts it back into the graveyard for us to resummon it off of Neromanus. And off of our Yummy Way, we're going to add a Marshmallow and a Cupsy Yummy. And then we're going to use the Yummy Surprise that we add off of Cupsy to resummon the Marshmallow, and then we're going to link into the Snatchy, and then that's going to stay there as we go into our Minion, and then going into Samsara Cat. And Samsara Cat is important because it's going to let us resummon our Herald of the Arclight again during this turn so that we can use it as an end board piece. So that's very important. And here we're using the Herald of the Arclight along with Cupsy Yummy Way in order to go into a Sprite Sprint. And now with the Sprite Sprint, what we're going to do is we're going to send Mirror Mage again, and then the Herald of the Arclight can let us add an Aquamirror, and then the Mirror Mage can let us add Freezing Chains. Then we're going to use the Samsara Cat to put the Herald of the Arclight back, and then we can use Neromanus again to resummon Abyss, and then that lets us go for lets us go for a free monster. In this case, it's going to be a Grimness. And then here we're going to use the Freezing Chains along with Herald of the Arclight after we've discarded our other Gishki Shadow in order to go for a Herald of the Arclight, because, we used Mirror Mage and Gishki Abyss to go into Herald of the Arclight, and before we made that, we discarded Shadow because otherwise Shadow would get banished, and it's not that big of a deal, but it's not ideal. So it doesn't need to get banished, so why should it? Basically, now Gishki Abyss here is going to be able to summon back Herald of the Arclight, and now this is going to be able to make it so that we have the material to go into a gigantic sprite, and then that can go into Beat Cop from the Underworld. Now, if you don't know what this card is, it lets you tribute a monster. In this case, it's going to be itself, and then it's going to resummon, and then Nightmare Corruptor Ibli was summoned off Gigantic Sprite, and then that gets resummoned to the opponents of the field, and then this is a pretty basic lock that a lot of Yummy decks have already used in the past. And now the last deck that I wanted to show off is what I'm currently running. So this is the OCG version, or at least the version that runs End of the World Ruler, and then this is the TCG version. And the only differences are that we don't run a couple of the cards, and then we just change them for Preparation of Rites. And this basically takes a lot of these combos to a different, I actually really enjoyed the incorporation of the Mitsurugi into the Sprite package. So for this last combo, what I wanted to show was that this is a merging of the Sprite and Mitsurugi combos. So basically what's going to happen is that we're going to go for the Herald of Pure Light as usual, and then go for Ashland. But then after we go for Ashland and add Mitsurugi Hapakiri from Revealing Neromanus, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be continuing the Mitsurugi part of the combo about halfway or so. And then we're going to be switching from there back to the Sprite or / Gishki combo, basically. So this is what I mean by that. So we're going to go for Saji now, and then that's going to let us go for the Prayers, and then Prayers can let us go for the Aramasa, and then Aramasa can summon and then form a chain with Habakiri, chain link 1 Habakiri, chain link 2 Aramasa, and now basically now that we've added both the Mitsurugi ritual as well as the Murakumo, we can now use the Aramasa and the Ashland to go for Sprite Sprint. Now we'll continue the combo in a more sprite-like manner by summoning 2 Nimble Beavers, and then we'll use the Gishki Shadow to discard itself, add Aquamir, summon Naramanus, summon Abyss, and then that lets us add a Gishki Shadow, and then from here we'll use Bujinki Ahashima. Now if you don't remember this card, when it's Link summoned, you can special summon 2 monsters from your hand with the same level, and then you immediately XYZ summon with them. In this case, what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be going for Degustive Emerald, and then we're going to be putting back the Ashland U1000 as well. But basically, this is just so that you can cycle your Gishki engine, and then we happen to draw one of the shadows anyway. So now, after we've done this point, we can go for the Mitsurugi rest of the Mitsurugi combo, and then we can use the 2 Link 2s to go for Gigantic Sprite, and then that'll go for Sprite Blue. And then we'll use the Sprite Blue to go for Sprite Carrot. And then after we can overlay the blue in the last beaver to go, or the Gishki Abyss in this case, to go for Melfi the Forest. Now Melfi the Forest can add a Melfi Caddy, and now we can just set the purification, and then we can end with a Melfi Caddy on their side of the field. And then that obviously lets us summon Herald of the Arclight later, which can let us add Necromir. And then we can continue, or it can add any Mitsurugi part of the combo. So yeah, I can add a Mitsurugi ritual spell or a Mitsurugi ritual monster. So yeah, as you can see, there is actually a lot of different ways that you can take the Gishki engine, and I've been exploring all the different possibilities that have been appearing basically because of the existence of Miracle Raven, Ashland U1000, other ritual engines. Sorry. The Doom Emperor, the Demise card. I love that card. That card's so cool. And yeah, so basically I just wanted to show off all the different engines that have kind of spawned or like actually been merged together because of like me just messing around with things basically and trying to just throw things at the wall and see what sticks. And so yeah, if you like this kind of content, just let me know. If you want to see any of these other previous decks like that I've shown in a little bit more detail, let me know. I'd love to see, like, did you like the Elven Notes version? Did you like the Vendread thing? Did you like the White Forest combo? Like, I think that there's a lot of different kinds of applications for this, so I just think it's cool. So let me know what you think, and take care, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.